I'm Chad from Chad DIY, and today's project is a custom coffee table with a metal base. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to start with is running all my boards through the planer. All these boards are standard 1.5 inches thick. I'm trying to get them down to about 1.25 inch thick. I'm slowly working the thickness down and doing each side of the board. It really is amazing how fast my shop vac fills up from planing the boards. I had to make about 5 trips outside to dump the shop vac. So I have all my boards planed down to their final thickness, which is just over 1 inch. I'm now going to find like the best parts of the boards. I need, it's going to be 54 inches wide, the coffee table, so I'm going to try to look for 56 inches, make it a little longer, the best parts, and then cut them out on the miter saw. Now I'll start making all my cuts on the miter saw. I'll stack up my long boards and the short boards on the side. Next I'll set up my table saw for the 8-inch boards. The coffee table is going to be 16 inches wide, so I'm going to take a little off each side of the board so I get 8 inches apiece. Now I'll start making my marks for where I want my biscuits to go. I have my biscuit joiner set up for the 1.25 inch wood, and then I'll just line it up with the pencil marks. Now I'll start attaching the boards together. I'm just using some wood glue and biscuits for the top 2 boards. I'll line everything up, and then I'll use wood clamps to hold everything in place while the glue dries. To attach the bottom 2 boards, I'm just going to use some pocket hole screws and some glue. Just run a bead of glue on top of each board before I put them together. The screw holes won't show on the bottom of the coffee table, so this is fine to use. I'm using 2.5 inch screws to hold everything in place. Now I'm just marking out where I want the countersunk holes to be for attaching the top and bottom together. I'm just drilling in a little bit with a Forstner bit here so the screws will be flush. The top part will screw in deeper so I can put some wood dowels in there afterwards. Now I can start gluing and screwing everything together. I'm pre-drilling the top just so the wood doesn't crack at all. And now I'll just add some more 2.5 inch screws to hold everything in place. Next I'll start cutting the little pieces of 3/8 inch wood dowel. I'll just add some glue in the holes and then hammer them all in. Once the glue is dried, I'll come back with the oscillating tool to cut them flush. A little sanding and they blend in nicely. Next we'll start working on the metal frame for the bottom. I'm making the frame out of 1 inch square tubing. Once I make my cuts, I'm just smoothing everything out on the grinder. Once I have all my pieces cut, I'll start marking them with the black marker so I know which pieces to weld to where. I'll bring all the pieces up to my garage and start tack welding everything in place. A few little clamps holds everything in place while I do this. Now I can do the finished welding with longer beads. Once everything's welded, I'm just going to come back with the grinder and grind everything smooth. I cleaned up all the metal and now I can start spray painting it with a flat black paint. I'll do 2 coats of the paint and then I'll come back with a matte clear coat. Next I'll start finishing the wood. I'm starting with a Minwax pre-stain conditioner and I'll let that set for a couple hours and then come back and stain it. Just adding the stain with a foam brush, letting it set for about 5 minutes and then wiping everything clear. Once the stain has dried completely, I'll come back and add 1 coat of a semi-clear poly. The last step is just to add the metal to the wood. I'm using some 1.25" self-tapping screws for this. And here's the final product. So here's the finished project. Something kind of different than I normally do. There's a lot more metal work than I'm used to. I'm not the best welder, so that's kind of fun to do something different. Also, using the biscuit joiner. I've never even used a biscuit joiner before this project, so that was also kind of a new challenge, but it was really easy. So I'll definitely use that in future projects. If you have any questions about this, leave comments below, and as always, please subscribe.